hmm Yep. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everybody right there, every part of the world, and we are live and direct back here. My name is Ojile Olawale, popularly known as Chief Wales, and this is today is going to be a very beautiful day. Trust me, it's going to be beautiful. But first things first, let us give a special shout out to our supporters all over. Spender, thank you very much for what you do. I think I'm having a kind of network lag. I don't know this morning. Spender, thank you for all you do. A special shout out to Malogy. Malogy, fantastic. Malogy is doing well, wonders. Special shout out to Dashal Rotimi, aka Dashe. Thank you very much for all you do as well. Um, I also want to give a special shout out to Mr. The South representative in person of Freedom Master Eugene Owana. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate you. Also give it up to Ayokomi Ajayi. Madam President, how you doing? A special shout out to um, Mr. Lulumari George himself in person. Thank you very much. Of course, he's also the brain behind Malogy. um, for all of our fans out there, a special shout out to Kunle Ojo that is not always missing out on this live stream. Thank you very much for all you do, sir. Really appreciate you. You're just wonderful. You're just wonderful. Okay, so quickly we are jumping in and talking about the games that happened yesterday. Before then, let us quickly call on our sponsor and one of our supporters to for you guys to know how it's going. Yeah, sure. And let us go there. Let's go.
How did we even get here?
Now, if you want to experience true technology, you can transfer crypto directly to any bank in Nigeria using Spender. There are a range of support chains including Bitcoin, USDT, Tron, Sui. By now, all you need to do is copy your deposit address. Then your crypto gets converted to Naira in real time with great rates and with no third-party interruption. Fast transfers, instant transactions, and the liberty to send your crypto directly to any Nigerian bank without limits. That's what technology actually is. Download the Spender app today and make your life easier with Spender.
Um, that is that about Spender, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know now, you know that was what Spender is all about. I don't think I like the way my light is showing today. I don't know why it's doing that, giving me that vibe. Let me just maybe shift this one backwards. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully, from your support, we would be able to get the the professional light that actually works. Everywhere will be smooth, fantastic, the way it's supposed to be. So, first things first. Let me quickly send this link. Let me see. I want to send this one here. And we would be expecting our wonderful guest, International Master Badugulu Afemi, very soon. And also, Black Widow Ladurotimi promised to be here, so we will be expecting him as well. Um, excuse me. And happy Father's Day, ladies and gentlemen. So the fathers in the house, the responsible guys in the house. But I guess I have my reservations against Father's Day. But it is what it is. Let's talk about it. I think I don't like the way this thing is showing over here. I was thinking I'm going to give you the preview link. Yeah, cool. The preview link. It's very important. The preview link is very important for people to join us live and direct. And I'm so sure. Let me see. Let me send a message to Lakuti Ladurotimi. Yeah, it should also be here. Bye now. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, cool. Anyways, before our guests get in there, let us use this opportunity to start talking about the games as hot.com. First things first, let's talk about yesterday's results all up and down. We are in the open section. There were some, interesting moments. I can tell you for free, PDM is on fire. Anyways, PDM is on fire, and our very own international master Odion Aikhoje held Grandmaster Bella. No, sorry, scratch that. Grandmaster Bella Saint Bilal held international master Odion Aikhoje to a draw, because that is exactly what happened. You know, Odion had a better position. It was a position that if he, in fact, as quoting FIDE Master Bomo Kikiga yesterday, it was like if he was the one that Odion had white against, Odion will want to push to the end and say, yeah, stamina. Now it got to the point of the GM, and they just agreed, settled with the draw anyway. So of course you have to respect the GM. Same thing, when the GM recognizes strength, when strength recognizes strength, of course, they settle for draws. I don't know why there is this lag early this morning. I don't want the lag. Come on, I want a smooth sail of stream. I don't like the fact that my stream is giving me a kind of red. Okay, good. I think I'm having the yellow. Yeah, good. I'm having the orange. That's good. Shows that the stream is getting better as it go. As it go.com. Anyways, the results yesterday, Odion Aikhoje there was a draw against the Bella Saint Bilal, and following next, International Master Simpson Michael, yeah, lost to International Master George Samir David. It was a very, very interesting game yesterday. In fact, our very own Lakwitolo Adurotimi was able to say one or two things about that position at a very long, at a point in time. George Samir, and according to him, George Samir is the guy to look forward to. The guy is a monster in his own way. Anyways, the game between Leviton Caleb Levy versus Solomon Kenneth ended in a draw. Yeah, drawn, which was interesting also. Funny enough, we didn't look too much into that game, and the only reason why we didn't do that was from the perspective that both of them are same countrymen. This is round 3. I don't expect too much of a fight from countrymen playing for the Grandmaster type. So personally, right? In the European world or the other worlds out there, um, both of them will be playing for a win. In fact, it will be a fighting. It was a fighting draw, anyways. But I felt the push wasn't too much. In my own opinion, anyways, the push wasn't too much. It was just and I understand. I really, really understand. Jamal was lost to Felix. It was whitewash actually. Dante Bukes was held to a draw by Wazura Roy. That was a very beautiful game. And of course, Jem Basim Amin at a masterclass. I don't know why this thing is just switching. I think I need to reset this, please, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies as regard. Let me just reset this video so that everything probably works better. Okay, after the reset, let's see if there is a change. Is there a change? Hopefully there should be a change. Anyways, so it was a masterclass. Banel was held to a draw by Inyola, and PDM just demolished Gazite. Sad International Master Sad lost to FIDE Master Simiu Jadin. Ortega was able to defeat Alayas Asadi Yusuf. Chitumbu, after losing his very first game in the tournament, won the second one against our very own FIDE Master Abdurrahman Abdurrahim, and now on 2/3 here, because he won FIDE Master Ezekiel. This was another one there. Yeah. So Next, Kayonde was also here to a draw. I believe these were more or less the most of uh, the upsets in the tournament. I'm seeing David Silva there also. Yes, was held to a draw by Campano Jose. Yeah, that's all. And our very own Tennyson won his game, and I believe Prince Adewale Adeyinka Capablanca defeated his very first opponent, and that's candidate master Notha Maokaufi. Crushed him. That's the candidate master from Botswana itself, the host country. So Prince doing what he knows how to do, Don't forget that this man is an administrator, so it's chess to him, it's fun, and it's punching above his waist over there, defeating the candidate master Nota Moakofi in that encounter. So we quickly look into the female category as fast as possible, and we have Shashanda defeating WFM Banda Natal Katlo, and we have Esperanza held to a draw by Aladima, and our very own Ofowuno Torishemiwa defeating WCM Biggs Jamie Nicole. Don't forget Torishe missed a tactic in the beginning that would have given her a free piece, but the position went, in her favor such a way that she was able to have a bishop takes pawn and have a double attack on two rooks for the opponent at the point in time, and it was with the exchange up and passed pawn. It was a walk in the park for Torishemua. And WIM Bridget, let me quickly find her out because we couldn't see her game yesterday, but finally WIM Bridget has won her very first game. Of course, she defeated the WCM Nepando Jolly. I believe that is Nepando Jolly. Yep. Yeah, she defeated Nepando Jolly. Exactly. So after and that is our very first. Can you imagine? Out of a possible 3 rounds, she just made her very first point. Like I said, and the winner of this event can either end up with 7.5 or 8 points. So I believe, okay, that's from Namibia. Yes, Nepal Johnny is from Namibia, and I believe with this score, she can go out there and start, let the winning streak. Let it continue. Yeah, let it continue. So let us quickly check on the pairings, round 4 pairings, which is going on right now. Esperanza is playing against Wafasha Henda, and we have WIMV Let Banea Firsto playing against WCM Ofowino Torishemua. Right now, we also have Haladima playing against WCM Otimile Maya, and our very own Nigerian player WIM is playing against WCM Magneko Kamsav Sylvain. That this is going to be very, very interesting. And we'll quickly switch to the guys, ladies and gentlemen, the open section. And in the open section, we would be having this fantastic game that everybody is on the lookout between. Of course, that is our board 5, but let us but one of the top seeds, what do you got? The highest scorers right now, 33 points. Judge Samuel David is playing against Felix Rafael, and this is going to be very, 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 very tough match. Egypt versus South Africa over there. Well, let's see what's going to happen. Roy is playing against GM Amin Basim. Basim is back to second board, and very soon, if you're not careful, it's going to be going to the top board. Next, we have Bilal playing against Dante Bukes. We have Jaden playing against Leviton Caleb. And we have Solomon Kenneth. Actually, people have been calling him Solomon Kenny, not knowing it's actually Solomon Kenneth. Excuse me. Solomon Kenneth is actually playing against International Master Odion Aikhoje. This is going to be fantastic. It's going to be very fantastic. And again, we have PDM playing against Banel. And now, for the people that don't know this story, I'm going to tell you the beautiful story. Okay, yesterday, Banel came to say that he's going to be playing against PDM in the next round. you know. And PDM was like, wait, hold on a second. Round 4. I told you at the first round of that event, of this event, that I will be playing against you. I will be meeting you in round 4 in this tournament. Like a prophecy. I'm meeting you in round 4. When round 2 came, he still went ahead to tell him again, Banel, during was it breakfast or lunch or something, that he's still going to be playing against you in round 4. So, and guess what? Round 4 came and he was paired against Banel. It's more like PDM is the man I saw tomorrow. So that was the story. That was the story there. Anyways, we have, I don't know what's going on with my camera. My camera is just going off and on, and I think I will have to stop this camera for now, and I will have to try and bring it up again. So apologies, just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I need to stop this. It's not going the way I want it to go. Yeah, it's not going the way I want it to go. Sorry guys, camera is just acting up. It's going up, it's coming in. First off, okay. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, apologies, ladies and gentlemen. There was a network break there, and that was beyond my control. I'm not gonna lie. That ain't me. That was beyond my control completely. Now I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, I think the network is better now. Yeah, I think the network is better now. So, quickly, let us delve into the games, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. I need to check if the stream is actually going well. Sorry about that. It was beyond. Sorry, network. Yeah, I believe. I believe we are back. I guess. Yeah, it was network-ish, and I think it's kind of back. Although the network is still sort of bad. Anyways, let's quickly go into the games, and here we have where is International Master Odion? I'm sorry. What? Can you believe this, ladies and gentlemen? Ouch. This is completely unbelievable. We can't even watch, oh God, we can't watch Odion's board. This is completely unbelievable. Unbelievable. We can't see Odion's board. There's nothing going on Odion's board. But anyways, if you can't watch Odion's board, let's go settle. Let's start with this. Excuse me. Ouch. That's bad, man. That's bad. Anyways, let's go back here and let's start with the game between the tournament leaders. We have d4, d5, c4, knight f3, queen's gambit. Okay, this is good. The exchange variation, knight bishop out. Yeah, basic chess. Knight bd2. I mean knight ge2 rather. The castles. At the moment, these guys are still playing a little bit of theory, and after knight a6. I won't be surprised if black, the intention knight to b4 to remove one of the bishops, right, will be the plan there. So see, there's a need to play a3 as fast as possible. So the question I always ask also in this scenario is, You've played this. Of course, we don't want to play this immediately. We don't want to play c5 because c5 suddenly there is an isolated pawn here. This is a weakness. You can create it for yourself. So knight went back to c7. Knight went back to c7, and we have a rook a to e1, bishop to e7, king h1. Now I guess there is a part where white wants to play maybe f4 and f4 and e4. I mean f3 and e4 maybe, because I'm not seeing white playing f4 immediately. Maybe so b5, an attack on the queen side is started. Wants to gain space. I knew it was about f3, and immediately black played f6, knight f6, and I think very sooner or later, we'll be looking at e4 coming into the play. E4 is going to come to the play, but right now, white is just not doing that. White decided to play the queen to c1, and I'm trying to understand the idea behind queen to c1. Who can tell me? Okay, after e4, no, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the idea. I don't know the idea. Yep. So let me quickly check this. There is something I need to check. Let me check my YouTube from here. YouTube again, guys, we need your support. It's going to be very helpful if you can get your support, so that we won't be doing this. The stream will just be going on a very simple, an easy live. Oh, I'm talking about mine. I'm not talking about any other person's video. I'm talking about mine, like mine. Where are you? I'm hoping I'm still very much live, ladies and gentlemen. If you are here, kindly say hello so I'll be able to know this is going on. Okay, I think. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Wait, why? I'm still very much live, ladies and gentlemen. If you are here, kindly say hello so I'll be able to know. I just heard going on. Okay, I think. Okay, I believe this is better in a way. Okay, cool. So, see if that happens. Okay, we're good. The stream is going on fine. Okay, cool. So in the meantime, this is the game going on here. Well, in the game between Amin Brasim versus Roy, which is not, which is going to be very interesting. Everybody wants to play against a Grandmaster now. The Grandmaster is right in front of you. Now we have the two knights defense, and please don't go for the fried liver. Don't. Exactly. Just h6. International master. Balogulu Afemize. No, yet. Now, of course, now. But the most painful part is that we are not able to see International Master Odion Aikhoje's game. Is it possible to tell them over there? Oh my God, this is why we are here. This is one of the reasons why we're here. The major reason why we're here. International Master. Okay. In the meantime, let's just switch and look into Torish's game and see how our wonderful lady is faring in this tournament, in this match. So we have a d4 knight f6. We have this. We have bishop check immediately. Bishop. Oh, okay. d5. Bishop just goes back on. Castles. Queen c2. b6. Takes. Castles also. Bishop d7. Knight c3. Knight b d7. Rook here. Rook to c8. I believe the c5 is coming very soon. The question is when. Bishop pins the knight. Now the rook left. Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know. I honestly can't say anything about that. Okay, so this is the position right now. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you for free, I am very, very hungry. And they say a hungry man, of course, I'm not hungry. Well, I'm hungry. That's a fact. Mm, let me see. First things first. I need to say, um, okay, I got it. I got what I needed. Um, okay, cool. Wait, so so I'm going to be eating using I'm using one eye to look at this position, pending the time that my guests actually comes in. Come on, eat, guys. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. So we're waiting for International Master Balogun Fame on the side, right? Please, if you're on the live stream, just say hello, and we definitely can give you a special shout out. Please, thank you. Hmm. Like I have to put this on top of it. If you're here on the live stream, just say hello, and trust me, we'll give you a special shout out. Mm. The winners of yesterday's trivia questions, can you please send us a message, send us a spender ID, and we'll make the payment. We'll make the payment as fast as possible. I think she has figured out that maybe this bishop, well, I don't know, the knight can come here. Just for push. Or even c5 immediately. And the game between PDM and Banel, there's a problem, a serious problem right now. Let's quickly check the game. Where is it? Banel PDM. Yeah, yesterday Banel and PDM were at each other's throats online, and in fact, PDM was saying that he wanted to, like just come and play it cool against Banel. But Banel made one or two statements, and PDM said, "No way! I'm not making it cool against you tomorrow. I want to crush you. I'm going to crush you." And here we go. And actually, I think Banner was expecting a kind of opening, and PDM said, "No, he's not going to be playing that opening." And we have, you know, this castle. This game between both players, it's an emotional game. So I will expect everything expectable. Because at the end of this game, the problem is for both of them, it's bragging rights. One player will go back to the last same WhatsApp group to now start jabbing the other. So the best that should happen in this game should be a draw, or else whoever wins, the other, his opponent will not rest for a very, very long time till they meet again. And Banner of South Africa is hard for blood against Master PDM. E4. And this is theory. At the moment, rook a1, h6. I think this is a kind of game moves that the likes of International Master Balogun Oluwafemi will be able to talk about. So here, I think most of the time, white plays h3 here, sort of. h3. But PDM decided to play a5, a4. And now we are in the bush. We are now in the bush. Maybe it could be prep, but we don't know. So we are in the bush at the moment. And ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the freshest, one of the most handsome chess players in Nigeria. Honestly. And give it up for the walking legend, in person of international master Oluwafemi Balogun, aka Peggy Stuffings. Peggy, are you ready? How are you? Oh, I think he muted, number one, and number two, maybe he's trying to handle his camera.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Your camera is blank at the moment. Let me see. Probably network, maybe. But I saw it briefly the other time. It just came up. Okay, it's back on. And let me just switch to the channel where we can actually see your face. And that's it, everybody. That is International Master Balogun Oluwafemi on live with us. Chief Wiz Chess Media, thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful having you here. Again, like I said, you can see I wasn't lying. That is one of the, the freshest, freshest chess players we have in Nigeria, Mr. Hanson. I don't know why he's in the chess world. He should be in probably the Nollywood or the Hollywood community. This is where they'll just be signing him up on every actor role on a daily basis. Have you ever considered acting at any point in time? I am.
We act on the board, on the chessboard. So
no, I'm saying, I'm saying like movies, acting movies. Have you ever considered it at any point in time?
Not really, not really.
Oh, okay. It'll probably be the another version of the Yule, Educci and co. Ramsey Noahs. You have this. Oh, all the ladies in the chat. What's going on? How far? Anyways, let's quickly delve into it. I am Balogun also is the only African player that actually played against a reigning world champion. Well, let me say he's the first. Don't let me just say he's the only. Let's say he's the first African player that was going to be playing against a um, reigning world champion. He was able to play against Magnus Carlsen, and it was a very fantastic experience, which we'll probably talk one or two about in not too distant future here. And he's also a national champion, ex-national champion. He has attained a lot in Nigerian chess cycle. Please give it up for him, and we welcome you here. How are you, and how is everything going, sir?
Yeah, everything is good. Happy Sunday, everyone. It's time for chess again, I guess.
Yeah, it's time for chess again. Unfortunately, there is bad news. The bad news is the game that we actually wanted to watch. Guess what? It's not displaying. The game between Grandmaster Solomon Kenneth against our very own international master Odion Aikhoje suddenly is not broadcasting for one reason or the other. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to believe it's a walkover. I don't want to believe something happened. I just want to because every other game are showing only their board is not showing. That's very, very painful. But quickly, let us delve into a very fantastic game that I believe you'll be so very, very interested in the match between PDM and Vanel. And remember, there was a back and forth, and we are in the same group of flow that they are in. There's a back and forth between the two of them yesterday when Banel was actually predicting like he's going to be playing PDM in round four. And when the pairing actually came out, actually it was against PDM in round four. And PDM came out to say, what did I tell you at the beginning of this tournament? I told you point blank that I will be meeting you in round four. And even during breakfast in round two, yes, at round two breakfast, I told you again that by now I'll be playing against you in round four. And lo and behold, round four is between the two of them. In fact, PDM was saying something like, you know what? I want you to take it a little bit easy on you in this round. But for you being cocky, I'm going to come here to crush you. And Banel is saying, no way, I want to crush you too. Just bring your Catalan. I'm already prepared for it. And here we go. We have the first moves, and you would definitely, as you know, as an international master, you speak will learn. Walk us through this opening. I'm saying the English sort of. Now the D4 there makes it all kind of difference, and we have this Indian setup, which is would we call this the because this can be the can this be the King's Indian also? Can we say this is also part of the King's Indian defense?
Yeah, of course, this is a King's Indian defense being deployed by South Africa's own Banele,
Yeah.
and it's actually an old variation, but it's quite solid, and I guess it was deployed for the purpose of maybe taking PDM out of theoretical preparation. So it's actually an interesting variation deployed by Vanille to try to prove something against the Catalan. So it's interesting.
Okay. Then we have the castles. B3. Um, Rook E8. I still believe these are still within theoretical lines, anyways, according to the master database down there. And now this is where okay, Rook E1 was still happening. Yes, Rook E1, and all of a sudden I saw A4. Now A4 right now doesn't exist anymore. So apparently it is either A4, it's a prep from PDM because he played it in less than 2 minutes. So it is either a prep from PDM and because right now both players will say they are in the bush. So,
Well, for black, black is probably still within preparation. because the plan to play uh, b5 to start an attack on the queen side was well met by PDM stopping black's plan. Okay, but now it kind of shows that by playing a4, which is actually a natural move, it was played for the purpose of stopping black's plan, not as an idea in mind for white. Okay, so this way, black can claim that white has been able to overstretch on the queen side. So when the position opens up, black can control and bring more pieces onto the queen side. So the pawn structure will not hold if black can break through on the queen side. And that will automatically give black the advantage. And the dark squares are weak, so infiltration on the queen side is imminent. So the question is, how will black be able to pry open the queen side, take advantage of all the dark square weaknesses? Because now there are no pawns to protect or stop black pieces from infiltrating on the dark squares. So that means playing a4 can be or can become a strategic weakness in the middle game if the knight can make it to the square b4.
Yeah, now I get it. So we're having this here and here looming. So I guess this explains why black played a5 immediately. So so this b4 can be probably reached in the maybe not too distant future. And here d5 was played immediately. Knight just went back, and that this is exactly what I just said. Like of course, based on the idea that you brought about, the pieces can just easily get to b4, and now the knight wants to come to a6 and eventually land on the b4 square. So in the game,
Yes.
pawn takes pawn happened, pawn takes pawn, and now bishop all the way to a3. That's a double attack on the pawn on d6, and oh wow,
Yeah, so this particular setup is interesting also because now black can claim is also a bit faster to infiltrate on the square d4 and b4. Okay, and black can also stop white pieces from getting into the light square, taking control of the light square. So positions like this, we would like to have our bishop, okay, for white on g5 to try to take out the knight on f6 because that would give white some positional edge. But now the knight is and the bishop is lost on a3, which black kind of tries to prove that you're not going to make it in time to create weaknesses, structural weaknesses in my position. The pawn structure obviously is not in favor of the bishops, okay, but in favor of the knights. So in this position, both white and black will try to trade off knights so that they can take advantage of the closed position. Okay, so for black, it's easy to play bishop to g4 to trade out the knight on f3 so that the square on d4 will become unopposed. But now it takes a longer time for white to do the same. So I haven't seen how the game panned out, but that's the basic technical idea in this position to control the outpost, which are the light squares in black's camp and the dark squares in white's camp.
oh wow. So here we go. Knights actually went in there to increase the attackers on this d6 pawn, but that is easily stopped by just bishop just going back to f8, and queen went all the way to c2. I'm trying to see why the queen is on c2. Maybe he wants to reinforce it. He wants to bring the rook here, maybe. trying to understand the idea behind the queen c2.
Well, the idea is simple. White has an open D file, so getting a triple threat on the backward pawn on D6 is a good idea. But the question is, will White be able to make it in time? If White had Bishop D1, Bishop G5, and just straight out the knight, then the plan simply plays itself. So White will keep a positional advantage in this position, but the Bishop lost on A3 is Black's trump to tell White that before you build up any form of pressure, I will be able to get my pieces out and infiltrate on all the dark squares. So let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, well, with knight c6, of course, rook to d1, knight in the military. So knight takes knight. That will be the c takes.
Yes, of course, because E takes will just allow White build up some pawn mass in the at the king side with the move f4. So
Yeah,
C takes.
I was even looking at I think this is the wrong path of taking it because of this
Yes,
potential.
that's because D5 just opens up the light square diagonal for the bishop and also gives White the room to play f4 and start an attack on the king side. So
in fact,
C takes.
I think it loses a piece easily. The simple English is it loses a piece.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Here it is the piece.
Yeah. So now that explains why C pawn has to take and C5 immediately by White.
Yeah, opening up the position for White is justified because now the dark square bishop gets to become active, and White can claim that he is going to get to infiltrate on the light squares. If Black doesn't capture the pawn on C6, becomes a problem that is definitely going to be difficult for Black to solve.
Yeah. 3 guys already on this pawn already. So anyways, of course he has to take. That's the only better move. And after bishop takes, bishop develops by attacking the rook. And bishop takes bishop. What? Bishop takes bishop at the expense of the rook.
Yeah, I guess that was probably a miscalculation from White's side. I guess that was probably a miscalculation. Here the tempo is on the rook, so White needs to understand that he needs to always counter attack with his own tempo, which means the pawn on f3 is meant to be played. Okay, the pawn on f3 is meant to be played in this position before bishop takes. The knight on b5 definitely keeps protection of the bishop on a3, so there's no need to rush that one.
Yeah, but now
I guess that's
now
an error.
that's a blunder. That's a real blunder. Now point takes d1 and now point.
So now PDM is playing with an exchange down. Okay, and
there is a
there
passport.
are more than enough. There are more than enough open files for the rooks to play, and there is a potential pass d pawn that cannot easily be stopped in this position. So I would say just a matter of time before Black infiltrates on the queen side and begins to roll his pass pawn from the center of the board
Oh
and
gosh.
probably convert.
Oh wow. So here now he had to now switch back to bishop f1. Queen develops and bishop to c4. Queen getting into the attack. Rook left. Ouch. I'm not liking his position anymore. Okay. Knight d7, h4 was played. Oh, ouch. To what ends? Well, he can't sit back anyways because his position is not good anyways. So I think I understand the frustration at this point in time. Knight wants to take away the bishop. And this is where they stop. This is the last move they stop. And again, I was saying it before you got in. I said this game is going to be so it's going to be full of emotions because like I said, after their banter yesterday night, so they are just going to be playing with. They might not. One of them will not be playing with so much objectivity. It's because emotions are at its peak, and this is exactly what's happening right now. Now PDM is in a bad position. Um, in the meantime, I think GM Amin Basim is already cruising E4, E5, knight C6, bishop C4, the Gecko piano, and wait, hold on a second. Don't we tell? Interestingly, right? After D3, interestingly, we do tell our junior players, H6 to stop bishop pin, and it's interesting seeing Basim actually playing this H6. Is it because of the rating of his opponent?
At this level,
Yeah.
H6 is probably played, or I feel H6 was probably played to throw white off any form of preparation.
Okay.
Okay, the idea with H6 is quite interesting because now, if white gets to castle early, I feel Black can try to prove that he can start an attack.
Yeah.
Which could also be some form of preparation. So I feel H6, besides stopping the move bishop to G5, can also lead to starting a form of quick attack on the king side.
And then we go C3 was played, of course, D6, bishop B3, G6 immediately. With G6, of course, it blitzed it out. G6 was blitzed out, knight BD2, bishop G7, knight F1, D5 immediately. Oh, so we have the queen in there. So what is white trying to achieve? You want to bring a bishop out and castle queen side?
Well, where here is very simple. The moment H6 came into play, both sides began to think, should I castle king side early or not? So I feel every move that is being played here was just both players gauging their strengths, asking who's going to castle first. So on seeing H6, white decides to delay castling and just maneuver his position in the Royal Lopez style, which is knight BD2, knight F1, knight D3,
yeah.
G3, and so delaying castling. And black also did not see the need to castle because there is no immediate threat in the position and decides to improve his pieces rather than to E7. There was enough time to play G6 and bishop G7 because the center is quite stable.
And there we go. We have a castle eventually from black to the king side, and H3 was played in the game. As a matter of fact, guess what? This game to this point, A5 has been played by a 2-5 rated player against a 2-2 rated player, and this same A4 black won. Maybe it might not be because of the opening, but at least the only game in the database that got to this point, a 2-2 actually defeated a 2-5 100 in this position. So A4 was played, and they are still following the same game, bishop, and now we are in the bush. Bishop E6 was played in the game, but now by playing B6, it's another. This is a new position completely. So, your thoughts? We already know the bishop is going to B7, maybe.
No, not necessarily. The bishop still has the square on e6, okay, or b7 as the case may be. The bishop can also pick on the square on a6
Yeah.
to try to stop the king from castling. So the options are so much in this position. So b6 is kind of asking so many questions. If you're going to play knight g3, then I'm going to simply get ready to play bishop a6 so that I can play and open up the position. So it depends. I don't just want to settle on b6 and just keep playing and allow you a free hand to castle and all that. So the move b6 just keeps the position interesting, flexible, so that black can now decide on where to finally put the bishop in the future. And rook e8 also, with bishop b7, bishop a6, rook e8, there will be no bishop on e6 to hinder the advance of the pawn on e5. And the rook prophylaxis is directly hitting on the queen and king if the position should open up later in the future. And there will be no bishop e6 to block the path. But the reason for bishop e6 is to trade that bishop on b3 so that there won't be any pressure on the long diagonal. But b6 keeps the option flexible so that if at all you're not going to trade the bishop, you should be using your own bishop to create good threats also along the a6 f1 diagonal.
Yeah. And interestingly, right now, the next move that black played, white played was knight e3. Knight e3.
Three, probably forcing white to decide, black to decide on the fate of the d5 pawn. Okay, so here bishop a6 may not be important anymore. Bishop b7 may not be important anymore. And now you'd have to settle for bishop e6, or you simply open up the center of the board with d takes e4. So, and now bishop a6 will be well met with bishop c4 to trade off bishops, and not much pressure anymore.
And that's exactly what happened. Bishop e6 was played in the game immediately. Bishop e6 was immediately played, and white went ahead to play the bishop back to c2.
Following the royal repair style,
Yes.
because there's going to be a lot of tempo gains after d takes e4.
Yes.
White wanted to play bishop e6 because of pawn takes on f3. So that's why he has to decide what to do. But opening up the game could also be good for white with knight takes d5, and there's going to be a lot of exchanges on the d5 square. And the fact that there are weaknesses on the light square in black's position, but no light square bishop to control those weaknesses, would actually give white something to still play for in the middle game. So maybe a trade on d5 was the way to go in this position rather than bishop c2, losing a tempo.
And apart from losing the tempo, now black was able to just play d5 immediately. Of course, this is understandable.
Well, that diagonal may not necessarily open up.
Yeah.
It just feels
It
like
won't.
when you notice that white has lost the tempo bishop c2, okay, you need to keep building on more tempos, looking for more tempos to gain. So d4 was a go at that, and now if c takes d4, there's a weak b4 square, dark square for white and black to control, and also hit on the light square bishop. So that explains the reason for pawn to d4. And if the knight leaves to g4, there's going to be some trades, and maybe the game might open up, whose favor not yet determined. But so far that drops a pawn. So it's understandable that d4, which is a tempo game, will force the knight to make a decision, and will force white to decide if he's to create weaknesses on d4 or just leave to a square where might So maybe knight to g3 would have been much better. So d4 would not be posing so much threats in this position.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you just played right now. You have to play knight g4, and after knight takes, knight pawn takes, and one would have expected the GM to go ahead and just munch a pawn.
But that
Of
also
course,
gives up back on
that also
h6.
gives
So
us this pawn. But if first things first, it went ahead and played g5.
yeah, now black has been able to prove that if I can cause light square weaknesses in my position, you should not be able to control those squares. So g5 is a way to go, and the light squares cannot be taken advantage of in this position, while black continues to build on the dark square weaknesses in the center. Now, the dark square bishop has also been temporarily locked in for the middle game, and without the dark square bishop being able to play, we have a scenario where we that's popularly known as the good bishop bad bishop situation.
Yeah.
For the dark square, and also for the light square bishop, still a good bishop bad bishop situation, because white light square bishop is passive, blocked by small pawns. Also the dark square bishop, so it's a passive situation for white at the moment. Let's see how white was able to and black was able to build up.
Okay. We just have a knight d2, played queen to d7. That's gangster on the pawn, and f3 was played immediately to defend the pawn. Knight went back. Okay, I think with the idea of knight g6 coming all the way to knight f.
After the weaknesses, you just have to control them in this position.
Okay, knight went to f1, knight g6 like we said, knight g3, knight f4 immediately, and queen f1.
In this position, white had to take the knight on f4, but that now gains a tempo. A tempo that
Yes.
allows for the pawn on c3 to be lost in this position. So because of that, black has been able to gain a tempo on the white queen, which means that once you lose a tempo, you practically begin to lose the advantage.
Oh wow. The d takes pawn now, and after rook a3 immediately. But
Now, it looks like the idea here after b takes c3.
yeah, I was wondering what happens after b takes c3.
Could be queen c6. There's a possible queen c6 to keep gaining a tempo and forcing white to defend in this position. Also, there could also simply be rook a to d1 to put pressure on the d3 pawn if there is no queen without queen c6. So those two ideas are probably what black would be aiming for. Without queen c6, we could have rook a d8 to first of all put pressure on the pawn on d3, then observe how the position plays out. Now, if you capture on f4, e takes gains the tempo, and bishop takes c3 wins an exchange. So maybe putting pressure on d3 feels more natural than playing queen c6 in this position.
Yeah. So that's exactly why you now needed to play rook a3.
But now that drops a pawn.
That's another pawn. And as a member of the Pawn Grabbers Association, we don't miss things like that. Take it while you can. And suddenly this knight is still completely the knight is still a landlord of this position right now.
But that's a super knight.
That's it.
The moment I pick my knight and I can pick yours, and I control the dark squares, it's just a matter of time before my pieces infiltrate.
Oh wow. And here we go. We are actually seeing b5 immediately. Hmm.
Yeah, because a trade on that pawn puts my queen getting a tempo on the bishop on b2 and puts pressure on the d3 pawn. Also puts pressure on the queen side, and I can switch my rooks to the b file to start uh, an infiltration plan. Also, I've been able to give myself a past a pawn for the future. The king is still in the center. The rook on h1 is out of play if I cannot create an open file on the h file. So black has everything going for him at the moment.
Oh wow, this is, and from here, knight in there immediately. It's not capturing, just went in there. Let's see.
Yeah, of course, you're still going to capture. You have to capture on f5 in this position. But now you ask yourself, can I gain a tempo before capturing on f5? d4 would create a pass pawn for me automatically.
Yep.
Okay, and then immediate threats. The only threat I can see here is knight takes h6. But you have to weigh that threat. Is it worth it to lose the rook just because you want to get a pawn? Can your queen get in the game after that? You have to calculate long, deep, and hard. So you give up your rook to get an open h file. Is it going to be worth it? After b4, knight takes, bishop takes, rook
That
takes, pawn takes,
b4 was
bishop
actually
takes.
what happened. So then the question is, from here, knight takes,
You
knight
ask
takes,
yourself,
takes,
would
bishop
knight takes
takes.
h6 work? Is it worth it? The rook takes, is it worth it? Can your queen switch to h1 immediately without capturing back? Can your queen switch to h1? Can the bishop capture on f6? Then your queen switch to h1 to try to checkmate? These are the things you will need to ask yourself if it works over the board. If it works, then fantastic. You have a good sacrifice that leads to a win. So this is the question white should have asked in this position if it works. If it works, then it's fine. If it doesn't work, then white is simply busted. So I do not know what the engines will say, but it looks interesting to go for a mate and abandon all hope. Maybe knight g6 would have defended correctly in this position after queen h1, knight g6, and there will be no check on h8. Maybe that could have worked fine.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Maybe
You mean just queen g1, queen h1 immediately?
h1, then knight
Yeah,
g6.
threatening mate and knight g6, and now there is bishop takes pawn, right?
Okay, bishop takes pawn. Then, okay, this definitely works for white. This definitely works for white. This works for white. But I do not know what the engines will say here, but it looks interesting. If it works, then fine.
Okay, let's call on let's use this let's call on the oracle, and the oracle is actually saying from here, um knight takes pawn, 2 times a6, b takes.
Yeah. So knight can also always stop mate on h4, which is interesting.
And the problem is by the time the queen takes the knight, we still have pawn take bishop.
So that makes a lot of sense here. So if it's well calculated, it shouldn't work. So giving up a rook on a3, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So that means on b4 is justified.
So rook a1.
Not to checkmate.
I'm even saying, did he even calculate the variation of knight takes h6? You understand? Because I don't think he would have done that in less than 30 seconds. Or maybe he has seen it before he actually got to this point. Before the pawn to b4.
Very possible.
Because it looked a little bit flat. And now,
Deflection tempo is important to offset the the king because the d3 pawn will be extremely weak, and if it captures, I don't go for the d3 pawn. I can easily play rook a to b8 to try to win a piece in this position. So
okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is beautiful. If bishop comes here, then rook comes here immediately. This
yeah,
knight
of course,
check is
that's
also a free
not
piece.
net just wins a piece
Yeah.
on its own. So
So in the game, bishop had to go back to b1, and we had a rook f to d8, putting more pressure on this d pawn. We had d4 immediately. Like, at least let us. I don't know what the let us is doing there, because d4, apart from the fact that he's clearing the path for the queen,
And D4 just gives
this
just
other
a
flip
pawn
on,
format.
right?
Yeah, that's just the pawn format. Yeah. So
That's another flip. But
the other case,
he's not.
yeah, of course you can capture on E5 because queen D2 is checkmate. Queen to D4 also a check that start leading to checkmate.
Yeah.
Queen to B4 is the a check, then queen to D2, chasing the king as far as possible, then try to get into the game.
That's
Then
this.
knight to E2, check, just start building up your mating threat.
Oh god. Oh god.
Knight to E2,
King f2
then
was
queen
played.
to F. Yeah, of course. The same idea, the queen can still go to B4 or B6. B4, the idea is to come to D2,
Queen b6 was played.
knight to D2, queen to F4 should lead to checkmate.
Oh my god.
Of course, you're not trying to capture. You're trying to capture with the rook this time around.
Yes.
To break the discovered threat. So going to B4, still with the same idea.
Oh yeah. Okay. b4 was also with some idea. Let's check it out again, because we have this.
In B4, same idea.
Interesting. This doesn't affect. It doesn't work because the queen check still comes. White is in serious trouble. But in the game, actually after queen b6, I think this is where they stopped. They've not made another move since.
Yeah,
I mean,
because the only way to find here is queen D1. Okay, to keep pressure on queen D1. Then after queen D1, we have a possible pawn to C5 sacrifice in this position. Just open up and keep opening up the lines. And before you know, the infiltration will be successful in this position.
oh wow. Anyways, let us quickly go back to the game between Banel, PDM, here trying to attack the bishop, and all of a sudden we have bishop to d3. Okay, let me switch this one off again. We do this first. Then rook c8 was played in the game, taking of course up control of the only open file. h5. I think PDM is just trying to create something out of the blue there.
Yes, of course. That's all you can do. Just keep putting the pressure.
Yeah.
And hope that your opponent doesn't. But definitely, queen to f8 is a defensive resource, while the two rooks infiltrate on the c file. So the defense is already taken care of in this position. It will take white forever to get a line up on the h file.
Yeah, which as we
And
can see,
f8 self-defense easily in this position. And there are no dark square bishops to create any dark square weaknesses here.
none, exactly, none whatsoever. And after the queen came in there, we have this queen here now. There is trouble. It's big trouble.
Of course, white has to resign in the next few months. I do not think white will be able to make it to 40 months before resigning in this
Oh,
position.
and that's true, 32. But with 16 minutes, and your opponent is having like 57 days to finish the position. Well, this PDM is going to like, oh gosh, he's going. I can imagine his pain after this game. Because I knew it. When you're going for a match like this, and you start, you and your opponent are at loggerheads. You're bantering yourselves. I think probably objectivity just went off the window, because I'm sure if they didn't have this kind of conversation yesterday, it wouldn't play like this. PDL won't play like this. Serious trouble.
Yeah, of course. I feel uh, a low sensitivity to danger or to trouble is what caused the whole shift in balance of the position. Because you need to first understand that both players are topping the AICC tournament. Okay, which means that you are almost on the same level of points with a lot of grandmasters, which also tells us that both players haven't lost a game yet.
Yeah.
Of top form, so nobody is a pushover. The moment you underestimate just one player who has been doing well, who is on top form, who hasn't lost the game, it can lead or become part of their downfall, and that is the case we see a witness in this game today. Completely missing Bishop takes D1 was uncalled for.
Very, 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 very. I agree with you. So, of course, I mean, Basim's games already ended, which were already,
Because you cannot stop the infiltration. Once the C5 is coming, and there's nothing you can really do in this position.
his opponent already played the best move for 2 by resigning. It was crushing, completely crushing, look at his rook, look at this. Come on, completely crushing. I think we should go even the game against Bilal. I mean, game between Bilal, Grandmaster Bilal versus International Master Dante Bukes.
Right. Dante Bukes has shown over time to be a fantastic player and playing some interesting openings lately. Interesting opening in the sense that you feel these openings should not do much, but they end up springing up to cause more harm. So, which is interesting to note.
Here we have a Catalan opening, clearly. Exchange the coins early on. Take bishop to d2. What does it? Oh, that was a pawn there. But wait, why? Because why would black allow that pawn capture?
Well, I do not know. I feel the pawn to c6 was something that could be played in this position.
Yeah, pawn c6.
Without having to give up anything.
But you know, I think no. I think I understand the idea. He didn't want to give up this c4 pawn.
Yeah, of course, in this position, in the Catalan, you don't get to keep. You only get to, because a double C pawn is much worse in position like this, because there are weaknesses you need to give up. So, in this position, you just have to play maybe pawn to c5. If you know you're not going to keep the pawn, pawn to c5, open more lines, because black is the player with the open file for the rooks. So pawn to c5 immediately looks very good in this position. Pawn to c5 just opens up the game and gets your pieces rolling. You could also try to stop knight to b5 with pawn to c6, and you don't have to worry about much anymore.
Yes.
You just and get your king castle. So 2 options, good choice. Pawn to a6, if you know you're still going to play c5, then pawn to a6 first, then c5 next would be good.
But now by playing knight,
now only you have to worry about the b7 pawn. So with the b7 pawn, you have to consider c6. But let's see if here black is trying to prove.
Is there a c6 idea with a rook b8 idea?
I feel there's going to be a time.
There is no time because of bishop here, and we'll take this knight. There is no time, and the bishop will be able to escape.
Okay. So position, black is trying to prove that he can actually keep the c pawn. So let's see how it pans out if he can actually keep the c pawn and try to use the b file for himself.
Yeah, so c6 was played, and after bishop, which was what I said, and now rook attacks. So bishop takes knight, rook takes bishop first, and after bishop takes bishop, the king takes. So it's still holding on to his c pawn.
Yeah, of course, he has successfully proved that he can keep the c pawn. But for how long? Because now keeping the c pawn will probably mean black would have to open up the file with e5. But I do not think black is prepared to do that. It's going to take a whole lot of moves. Because the knight on b6 protecting covering c4 is simply shutting off the knight, the rook on b7 from being active, which could also move in one take, knight a4. But the idea is, why are you getting double pawns if at the end of the day you're still gonna not keep it? So I guess let's see how it is. I don't think black would also be able to keep the c pawn, because now the open c file will simply allow black to lose the c pawn. But now it's going to be a pawn trade, the c pawn for the b pawn. Black can justify that he's getting a better pawn while giving you a double pawn, so which is also interesting to see.
Yeah.
So this game still feels balanced. Nobody has an advantage yet until one side can pick the c pawn without giving up to d pawn.
And there we go. That leads to rook f to c1 first, hitting on the pawn, and after king to d7, we have rook to c2. Rook
I feel rook a to b1 will just do the job. Rook a to b1 just keeps the threat alive of picking up. Instead of rook c to rook a to b1, but now double up to rook.
Okay.
You have to give up the.
That's rook b1 immediately, then you're not just able to take it.
For rook f to b8 still goes with the plan of infiltrating.
And okay, f6. You can't take the pawn yet because your pawn is also down. And here we have black getting in. Knight takes pawn, knight takes pawn. Just a rook b6, and we should be okay here. Yeah, rook b6. Knight went back home. Of course, the knight is not trapped. The knight is not trapped, so we have a knight out, worst case scenario. Yeah, knight is not trapped. Nope, it isn't. Knight just goes back home, and now there is this interesting threat of knight a2. I guess that's probably after the king. The king has to move away first from this discover check. So, but he checked immediately, and the king just steps away. Rook in there. Wait, is it me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's obviously checkmate on d7. So there's no knight c2 because rook takes a7 is threatening a checkmate on d7. So white still keeps an edge because the outpost on c5 is a bit stubborn.
So now that explains the a6 first. So, of course, imagine I was like, that's a rookie move, right? Going knight. Let me show the audience. If it decides to say, oh, you have a knight fork, again, like the IM rightfully said, once this rook gets in there, guess what? You're gonna be checkmated in the next move. And you now start wondering. No, you won't start wondering. Then you will now get back to you get back at the end of the game. That's what I'm saying. And I was winning. That's the line. I was winning. I was better. That's not the end of the game. So rook was able to leave, and knight went back home here to d5. with the rook coming to b2 next if k is not taken. Okay, first defending that pawn.
Of course, you have to defend the pawn to free up your two rooks to be able to move freely because your rook is what's going to try to balance the game. So white understands that and stops the rooks from infiltrating all the same. So black was able to solve the threat nicely, which is quite interesting because the knight maneuver from b2 to d3 to d4 to d5 to c7 is actually interesting. It will take a whole lot of calculation to imagine that knight can get to a good square where it can safely defend the pawns and not lose a pawn and not lose the game or not worsen his position.
And we have finally PDM has resigned as expected, and this is the last position that they are in right now. The GM is actually trying to find ways to exploit black's position.
Yeah, technically, white white can create as many plans as possible, but the position is roughly still balanced because you don't have a material edge. You're not picking up any pawn from anywhere. White can claim that he wants to improve his position with h4, h5. Okay, h4, h5. White has the pawn majority. We have to just keep the position. So when the infiltration comes with a move like maybe g5 or h6 or knight c5 or rook a5, okay, we can have rook a5, rook c4, double up your rook on the a file and play knight c5. But white needs to make sure that he has built his position on the king or around the king such that he will be able to create more weaknesses on the king side so he can switch. But black would not let that happen. Okay, black will not let that happen. The moment black wants a situation where he's going to be able to trade off just one rook and he should be okay. So the position feels like white has lots of plans to think about, but those plans are being hindered with just the idea of a rook trade in this position. No weaknesses yet, but white is trying to push a bit more to try to force some weaknesses on either the A or the C file. But to take the knight on B3 leaving, and that alone would or should allow the rooks infiltrate.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Anyways, the game is still on, ladies and gentlemen, and let's check on our own female player, WCM Ofowunu Torishamoa, who is doing fantastically well in this tournament. And she's playing against WIM Villette Banya Forsto. So we simply have D4, C4. Also the Catalan, I believe. Yes. Bishop takes. Bishop went back home. Knight F3, castles, Queen C2. Do you play the Catalan? I am, because I know I'm used to seeing you with the KIA, the Queen's Gambit, the KID.
Yeah, not in classical tournament, just in Blitz. I play the Catalan in Blitz, and it's quite interesting because white gets a lot of advantages with the Catalan, but black is not without its own resources. And the way black played this line is quite interesting because it's not the best, but it's still one of the most solid lines for black. So, in the sense that the bishop would have been better off on d6. So while after a3 the bishop retreats to e7, the bishop retreating to d6 feels more interesting.
So
the bishop retreating to d6.
Oh, should have gone to d6 instead.
That feels more interesting. So we get to a line where you can decide to play c6, knight e7, then pawn to e5. Or you can decide to play knight c6, then pawn to e5 after castling. So So those two ideas are very good for black in this variation.
Oh wow. And here we go. We have in Bishop went back here as he played it. Knight f6 was played. Knight f3, castles, Queen c2, b6.
Yeah, in the
Uh,
Catalan, the basics idea not so not so uh not so how will I put it? Doesn't use much fruit as just going with the C6 variation and just try to keep that more solidity in the Catalan. Just make sure that the bishop on G2 doesn't get that freedom on the diagonal G2 to H or A8. Okay, because even though it might feel equal at the beginning or the middle game, at the end game, the balance changes. That's what makes the Catalan really a formidable weapon. What you feel is equal now, you've given up a lot of advantages that you did not see and you would not expect, and it becomes difficult to manage in the end game because you are not a computer. So, well, this is an interesting line, quite alright, but not the best in this position.
and c times d5 obviously was played, and pawn takes pawn, castles kingside, bishop to b7, and knight to c3. And I think there is a particular point here. Something happened after knight bd7, rook to c1, rook to c8. Now something there. This is what I was like when probably you come or Laputa comes. He has to explain this idea. All of a sudden we saw white playing bishop to h3, and immediately after bishop h3, remember the rook just came to c8.
Yeah.
Next thing, rook went back to 8.
Yeah, of course. The thing is, you have to contend with knight b5, which becomes a problem because now you're going to be sitting on c6 after knight b5. The rook is under a pin. You do not want to get to a position where you'll be pinned the knight b5 again. So it's going to be a lot of problems. So in this position, you would have just preferred to black would have just preferred to play pawn to c6 instead of rook to c8. So with that pawn to c6 now, we're still back in the same line where you should have played pawn to c6
Exactly.
instead of b6 all along. Because now the b5 square is completely weak and can be taken over.
Oh god. Okay. Anyways, and in the game, it went for the like knight went back to knight went all the way back to d1.
Yeah, of course, knight on f5, the line square weakness is begging to be infiltrated. Knight e3, knight f5. With the tempo, the queen and the rook on c7. So this tempo game is what makes black's position right now difficult to play. Although I do not expect white to be a super grandmaster to be able to slowly grind out the opponent, but it becomes a very easy position to play for white.
Okay. And as you can say, you actually said it right. It's going to be become a very. It's now the c6 now came.
So that this should have come a very long time from the beginning of the game. So the bishop on d6 would have prevented the knight e5 in a lot of variations. So the bishop on e7 will now try to find a way to move to a much better square in the future.
And over here, knight to e3. Like he said, eventually the knight is going to f5, and it's actually went to f5. Knight takes bishop.
Of course, it has to be played because that bishop, you won't want that bishop to get out because you are caught between keeping up your outpost on e4 or keeping up the outpost, then letting the bishop get out to f4, which is going to become some problem you would not like to solve. I feel the decision on d2 is a fantastic choice. It's a fantastic choice because you still have a knight that comes to f6 and back to e4 all over again. So it's a good choice.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, queen takes immediately. Of course, that's the only move. rook to e8, and we definitely have the point to f4. Knight went back home.
Yeah, in this position, you would have imagined your bishop on d6. The queen would not have all this luxury.
Yes, we have the luxury of coming there. So now this is practically
So now the
threatening a
bishop
mate.
of c7 is just going to keep trying to entice white to trade off that knight on f5. Okay, the bishop on e7 is just going to keep that. And you want to be able to play bishop to c8 and bishop takes f5, but now it's not going to be possible in this position. Now bishop f6 does not work because of knight h6 check. And knight takes f7 check, picking up the queen.
Ouch, ouch. Oh god. So that means he has to bring out one way or the other this knight has come to g6.
Yes, of course. And he buys black good time. He buys black good time. Knight g6 defensive move. Imagine the bishop was still on g2. After knight g6, h4, h5, it's just going to be a crushing advance.
Oh.
So hopefully knight g6 works because the bishop on h3 blocks off the pawn on h4 to be able to advance.
Yeah.
To start some.
And now we have knight e5 again, and reinforcing the attack on the knight. But
and also c6. Okay, knight e5 also tries to hit on the knight on e6 and also hit on the knight on f6, which is good.
And now she just played c5 immediately herself.
Yeah, of course, it had to be played. It had to be played in this position.
And here we go. This is the present position between both players, and we can. And interestingly, as good as White's position is, I think like I said, it can be annoying at times. You know, it's annoying when you have the engine, and when you are looking at the position at times, of course, there may be bias like, okay, my position is good. I think I'm better in this position. I'm cruising. Look at my two knights. Look at my bishop. My rook can even join the attack at any point in time just by just sliding up and somewhere here maybe. And all of it, and all of a sudden, the engine is telling you that the position is equal.
Yeah, the position is balanced because the trump that White has in this position is to wish for a moment where he can advance the pawn h4, h5, but he cannot get that. Okay, and black keeps enticing, pick up my dark square bishop, and at least you are one attack away, you are one piece off your attacking pieces, so which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So positionally, yes, it looks balanced. And in this position, I think the idea for black is just to hope that that he can play bishop c1 at some point in time. If he gets to play bishop c1 at some point in time, then it looks good. It looks good. And for White, if White gets to find time to retreat the bishop to g2, then h4, h5, then White also looks good. But how fast can these moves happen? That's the question. How fast can these moves happen?
And okay, so right away, I think back to live. This is where they are at the moment, and we can. Which other games? Which of these players' games we like? We've seen at any point in time. We've not been able to check any game of Umwale, Umwale Joseph. At any point in time throughout this tournament, I've not been able to talk about any of his game, probably because he has not been on the top board. But fortunately, he's here right now playing against Donado Paiva. Donado Paiva is from is that South Africa?
Mozambique, I think.
Mozambique, sorry, Mozambique. Yeah, Mozambique.
Yeah, it's Mozambique.
That's Mozambique. That's Mozambique flag actually. So we have. Is anybody? Okay, of course. This is your territory. Like you've played this opening like a million times, in my own opinion. I might be wrong, but Knight takes knight, coin takes. I'm sure. Do you go also this variation of doing knight takes knight or going to knight e5 immediately?
Yeah, it works. It works fine. It works fine. It works fine for white. It also works fine for black.
Mm. So e4, pawn takes, bishop goes back, e5 immediately.
But e5 is too committal in this position. Once the game is open, you have to maintain the job of locking out the black's light square
Last
bishop.
bishop.
Yeah, so the pawn on e4 stays there permanently, and you have to build your position around it. But as long as that bishop gets along diagonal, there is no real attack for white in this position, and black just gets a very, very good position here.
And now the knight, of course, needs to move. Knight in that looks like with the idea of knight going into what is it called, d6.
Doesn't really matter. Black here can simply just castle kingside and continue his position without problems.
Did it even
So unless black wants to be extravagant, all these moves can always come later. Black can always build up the position with a4, a5, a6, and the bishop and long diagonal. I mean a5, a4, a3. That's for, and the long diagonals can prove the bishop controlling the long diagonal h7 to c2 can prove to be decisive when the position on the queen side, the pawn structure is compromised.
Okay, so queen to g4 was played immediately, hitting on the g7 pawn, and bishop came back to g6 to block the attack.
That's a result of playing rook a to d8, because now if you are castled and queen g4, you could just play king h8 and you are fine. You don't have to do anything extra in this position anymore. But with this, you would have to play some moves that keeps black's position feeling like it's solid, but with some pawn shakes, h4, h5, the position might begin to look good for white again.
Nope. Oh wow. Okay, let's see. Is it castles first? Do we have the h4? Yes, like you said, we have the h4.
White maintains some fair advantage on the driver's seat. Yes, still feels roughly equal, but white is in charge here in this position.
So bishop attacks the queen, which does nothing. The queen just drops back to e2. b5. b5 was played, and then b3.
I don't know. Okay, b3 maybe looks good.
b3 was. I thought the bishop was doing well on this diagonal.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you need to get your rooks in the game.
Oh.
The A rook needs to come in the game, because you cannot start a kingside attack if you don't control the center. And right now, black controls the whole d file. You have to challenge. Patience is key in positions like this. You don't just rush to start attacking because you have your pieces in. You always need to be patient while building up your position. Black is going to commit pawns on the king side, on the queen side, and white is with the hope that the pawns will become weak enough for white to attack in the future. You also need to be able to protect or overprotect your e5 pawn, and bishop to f4 cannot do that anymore. You want to play c4, but now you have to worry about some extra pawn weaknesses.
You actually played c4.
Yeah, of course, it has to come, because you want to play bishop to f4 or bishop to b2 to defend the pawn on e5. But now with c4, we will both have weaknesses on the queen side that we'll be able to find out if one or both players, or we'll have to find out which player will be able to exploit these weaknesses.
So pawn takes pawn happened, and B takes pawn. Like no, you still have to leave that square. And by the time the knight went to b6, then bishop f4 immediately.
Now, black is doing fine. Black is doing pretty fine in this position. The knight coming to a4 is a fantastic choice to stop onto c5. The knight coming to a4 is good to control the dark squares, and a possible future bishop takes e4 will be good. The rook infiltrating on d4 immediately will not be able to be chased anymore. Okay, and that's a fantastic rook because there's a tempo on c4 first that allows you to double up your rook. So black has a fantastic position in this game so far.
And like you said, rook is coming over there, and I'm seeing the immediate that's bishop chasing away the rook.
Of course, the tempo is obvious. It means that the rook has to go back.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, okay, because bishop takes b6 is a tempo on the queen. So knight a4 could have worked out fine, or the simple, knight a4 could have worked out fine. Simple rook takes rook d7, then rook f to d8 could also be a better option here.
And
also retreating to d8, retreating to d7. Okay, d7 would allow knight c5 tempo on the rook, so it makes a lot of sense.
But knight d6.
Now, when white is back on the driver's seat because of his tactics onto c5. Very interesting tactics. By the way.
You can take pawn, bishop takes, pawn takes. If rook takes, then let's show the audience, the viewers. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, or even if it is the queen takes, whatever takes there is this pawn push coming up here, and that's it. That's a piece. That's a whole piece. So knight in, that was a beautiful move by Mwale Joseph. And what just happened? I didn't tell you to go back to the live. Yeah. Why is it going back? Apologies. For what reason or the other, it's just started going back without me doing it. I don't think I was doing anything for it to make back. So I remember it was 19 here. Bishop went back immediately. For pawn push again, imagine he wants to kick away this knight from this side of the board as well. And yeah, and it's still like saying, you know what, come and take the knight. I dare you. I dare you to take the knight. Of course, this doesn't work again. Bishop just comes to f4. Knight.
Should the bishop have gone to f4? That's the question. Should the bishop have gone to
I was actually looking at what is wrong with. Of course, it doesn't look. It looks ridiculously bad from our own layman perspective. I was looking at just maybe pushing the pawn to f4. So far, we're trying to protect this guy, right?
No. The idea is with pawn to f4, the bishop can just capture on f6. That's the whole idea. The bishop can always capture on f6. On d6, sorry. The bishop
okay, on d6. Okay. So f4, bishop takes, pawn takes, and of course that becomes a free pawn. Okay, now I get it. So we don't want that to happen, and hence bishop f4. But is there any other move? How about the rook?
And knight takes e5 is a pawn. Knight takes e5.
Oh, there's a pawn hanging. Okay.
So bishop f4 is first.
Bishop f4 is first, yeah. And we actually badly want to maintain this diagonal. Going through here doesn't work because of this. f6.
Bishop d4, you still lose a pawn on d6.
So okay, anyways, bishop f4, knight c5, rook from e now to d1.
Of course, the threat bishop d3 is coming, so you want to stop that.
Yes.
You just want to keep stopping the threats.
f6 was played in the game, and pawn takes pawn.
Yeah, there's the idea that yes, if I'm going to lose a piece on d6, why not? I'm going to get it for 2 pawns or 3 pawns. So pawn takes f6 is playable because the time you spend in capturing on f6, my knight would spend it to create a discovered attack on the queen. So, which means, and if you play bishop takes d6, pawn takes g7 will force you to respond first. Okay, will force you to respond first. And after queen to g4, there lies a problem that is not easy to solve. Okay, if you capture on g7 with the king, queen to g4 check. So wherever the king goes to, you could always have bishop takes h6. So, and you continue your game like that.
Oh, this is interesting.
And you can try to prove that, okay, the pawns you got is probably enough for the material you're losing, if that works. Or maybe there is another tactics that could work better in this position.
Mm. So in the game anyways, queen, instead of capturing after pawn takes, he did bishop takes knight like you said, but instead of taking the pawn, he first sacrificed the rook on the minor piece. Rook takes bishop king first, such that once the rook takes back, at least that pin is there, holding on there, then now pawn cannot. It's not even doing pawn takes pawn.
No, there's no point for pawn takes pawn because pawn takes pawn would allow rook takes bishop
Yeah,
at
back.
the end of.
Yeah.
So where he's guaranteed to get his piece back.
Oh wow.
Guaranteed to get back with a possible fork on the knight and the rook. The knight and the rook.
Oh wow. Ouch. Okay, so is this the last move? No, queen e5. After queen e5, the moves have gone. Rook increased the number of defenders there. The queen takes the
So
knight.
now there's the tactics. The tactics is you would have to worry about rook d1 if it helps.
Rook.
So that drops an exchange automatically if you respond, if the queen gets out of the way. So after rook d1 check, you have to find out if just king h2 without capturing on the
Yeah,
rook.
he actually captured.
Yeah, so here you have to find out what works fine. Here you drop an exchange and hope that the weaknesses, because you're going to be getting a lot of pawns for this exchange, so you just hope that it's worth it. Okay, you're going to be getting the c6 pawn, you're going to be getting the g7 pawn, and you're going to have your dark square bishop controlling all dark squares in your opponent's camp. So you ask yourself, is it worth it? And you'll be getting a pass pawn on c4. So the trades, I think, should be worth it for the exchange. So white keeps the advantage here in this position.
Oh wow, this is beautiful chess by these two players. And interestingly, Donaldo is having 4 minutes on his clock and he's still on move 32, while his opponent Joseph Nwale is having a whole 28 days to get to the 40th move, which is really interesting coming from both of them. I'm expecting luck with Oluwaduro team. I don't understand why, and he promised heaven and hell that was going to be here this morning that wants to actually share this moment with you. Um, Now you see, I knew it.
Now,
I knew it.
uh,
What?
you were saying?
I knew it that people will start, bantering PDM immediately. Imagine somebody just came up and now said, the silence is sponsored by six laptops. And come on. You can't just kick him at this point. He still has one more game to play. Why don't you guys just wait um, till the tournament is over? Knowing fully well that it's still the game, the tournament is still on. But of course, these guys are having fun. They don't care. And Barnell said he didn't use his ring this time around. He needs the ring against the Grandmasters. Anyways, that let me just leave the bands alone, and let's go back to chess. And I suddenly saw that there was a um after this takes Queen went to f7.
Yeah, of course, pawn takes g7, then queen takes c6, queen takes e6, the position falls, and white should be close to winning.
Yeah. Okay. How well do you know? In terms of, have you even? I don't think you've played against him before. Joseph and Wiley himself. Is that not Joseph Fear? Yeah, that's him. That's Fear himself.
I think that's here. Here is an interesting player. He's an interesting player. Once he prefers this kind of positions where there's going to be a lot of imbalance. If the position is simply dry, you probably should be able to beat fear. But when position feels like this, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to overthrow fear.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That's
We have the C pawn, the pass pawn, the C pawn can easily
yeah.
move.
That's Caroline coming up on board for as the
Once,
second queen.
once pawn to C7 successfully, then the game is practically over.
Yeah.
Because C5, pawn to E5 just drops the pawn because queen E8 check, bishop takes E5. So you keep picking all the pawns
Oh.
in this position.
Oh gosh. Okay. I guess we'll have to just hold on there. But this is so painful. I don't know why we can say. Well, okay. Let me ask these guys. What at Panel. Uh, any idea what's happening on Odio's board? If you can actually help out. Okay, it's not even here.
What's happening on Torish's board?
Yeah, let me quickly dash back to Torish's board. And I think our opponent after the 25th move, after playing h5. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, after no, c5 came first. Yeah, c5 was the last move that we saw here, and e3 was played. Bishop went back all the way to f8, f4, a5, a5, a5,
So
a5,
it's the
a5.
same. I just have advance on somewhere you're stronger. So it makes sense to advance h5. So I would have preferred the bishop remaining on e7 because you're trying to bait in this position. You are trying to bait white
To
into
capturing the bishop.
getting rid of one of one of the one of the knights. Okay, one of the attacking pieces, which is the knight on f5. So the bishop remaining on 7 was a fantastic way to play. So you could keep the bishop on e7 and just advance your pawns. So in this position, if you take it back to the bishop on e7, yeah, if you take it back here, black can simply play b5 and direct b4. Okay, can play b5 and direct b4. Here, the idea remains that whenever you capture on c5, you will not be protecting the knight on b5 anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
or the bishop here in this position can probably just go to f6.
Mm-hmm.
So now you are creating a threat that you want to pick on e5. Okay,
Yes.
but it has to be well calculated. You have to make sure that f6 works fine. So that's an interesting move in this position. But if bishop f8 is a natural move to defend the position, which is good. But you need to now cover the what do you call it, the seventh rank, in the sense that you would like to play bishop to f8, and one idea is to play bishop to f8, then rook to a7. So that idea feels interesting. Rather than a4, you just play rook to a7. So by the time the bishop on b7 leaves, you are practically covering all the seventh rank diagonal, or the seventh rank from any form of attack.
Oh wow. And there we go. Bishop went back. F4 was played immediately. We have the A4, Bishop G2. Now, the moment we see Bishop G2, we should already know that H4, H5 is coming.
H4, H5 has always been the plan all along. You just have to make sure that you can meet that plan. And C4 feels unjustified. The move C4 feels unjustified because if your C4 is you practically converting the game into a constant variation, and you need to know that you need pieces for the constant variation. So C4 can only be justified if you have to play bishop to c8 on the next move. Okay, if you have to play bishop to c8 on the next move and just take out the knight, then it's fantastic to play c4.
And that's why she played bishop c4. Bishop c.
So what did black play?
Black went ahead there and just continue.
Yeah. I'm expecting. I just said it. The reason you have to play c4 is so that you can just leave to play bishop c8.
Yeah. And over here, bishop takes knight immediately, and after the queen takes, we have knight takes knight, and suddenly looks like
now
you have to defend f7.
You have to worry about f7, which makes rook a7 a fantastic choice. You should have made much earlier. That comes to just the point of rook a7, because you need to cover that rank. Okay, so imagine you had rook a7 a long time ago without playing pawn to a4. That would have helped you find an extra move in rook e6 right now. Okay, that would have helped you find an extra move in rook e6 right now. The game is still being played. Black is throwing his weight or her weight into this position.
Yeah, so should we be expecting rook e6 immediately here right now?
I think we should be expecting rook e6 in this position. And if rook e6 feels that it needs to be delayed, then maybe because of bishop h3 and a possible queen move out, then we should be expecting b5, b4.
But although I'm rating, I won't be surprised. She has 11 minutes on the clock. Of course, this doesn't do anything. But I won't be surprised if I start seeing some h6 kind of idea. If I see h6 on the board, I won't be surprised.
Well, the light square weaknesses we have on this position, on this board now, is the pawn on d5.
Yeah, d5.
With to understand be played at any moment in time. But white needs to make sure that the d4 pawn is well secure, because the pawn e4 is going to make the light square bishop become super active in this position. Super active. So if you have an h6 on the board, and we have rook c to d1, pawn to e4, bishop takes e4 if there's a trade, queen to f5. Now we have a queen on f5, bishop on d4 to go infiltrate on h7. h6 might be a long, committal, incorrect move to play h6, because there's a possibility that the light squares is going to get open in the future. So we don't want that. We want to be able to meet any form of e4 with pressure on d4, like immense pressure on d4. So that way it will justify, we will be ready to meet any form of attack on the light squares in black's camp.
Unfortunately, as we cannot actually see Odion's board, I sent a message to Banel, to the group, and Banel just said, hold on a second, any updates on Odion's game? And he said, Odion is an exchange down and he can't castle. You see how annoying it is that we couldn't even see the position. We'll have seen it at least. Okay, let's go on. So our game is still something we keep on looking out for. But wait, the game between GM Shahenda and WIM, has she lost on time? Esperanza? Seems somebody has lost on time. Did she meet up with the second time control? If she didn't, then she's lost. And this is the situation whereby your recording must be top notch. Wow. Was that intentional?
Well, of course, knight e4 tempo would get the c5 pawn, so.
Okay. That makes it intentional. Exchanging the queens. Oh.
So that's the digital error on the board. So that's probably why the clock ran down.
Okay. That was scary. So we don't know what's going on that board, and I think WGM Wafashuruk, after losing her very first game, she's fighting hard back to the top. This opening reminds me of Nnamdi Town.
Of course, it does.
Mr. Nnamdi Nwoye is the only one I'm sorry, he's the only one I know that plays this opening 100% of the time.
Let the bishop be pointing.
Do we have any other person that plays this opening in Nigerian chess?
Well, we have the attack master play this kind of openings. We have the national champion employing this style of opening. We have Lapite also employing something similar. So we have people who play this kind of Reti system.
Yes, Reti system, that's the name. I was trying to remember the name. And here we go. It went on like this. Okay, rook in there, defending e3. That's isolated pawn. Pinching, that's takes knight, very important. Then the rook, the queen leaves for a bishop. Why are you trying to exchange the knights? The bishops. Why try exchanging the bishops?
What bishop?
He wants to. He's trying to extend this dark side bishop with his own lovely bishop.
Well, he probably sees that there is no way to. You can take it back. He probably sees that there's no way to defend on e3, which doesn't really make sense because we are looking at knight takes f2, rook takes f2, bishop takes b3, trying to win an exchange with two pawns and an exchange. Would that be an imbalance? So the white did not want to wait to see what black has with knight captures on f2 in this position. That's why I guess bishop d4 came into play.
That is so beautiful because I honestly I know I play this team. I use this, I employ this, I set up, but not this, not like this. I usually use it in the queen's gambit, and I've gotten away with it many times, sacrificing the e6 pawn. Um, no, sacrificing on the f2, yes, f2 pawn, I believe. Sometimes it goes on the e6 pawn. I think I've noticed. No, f2 pawn, then you'll be able to take it. You take this piece here, pinning the knight to the queen. It has worked a lot of time for me. So I did not envisage it from black's perspective. Sorry, of actually capturing this. But for example, let's play a random move for black. I mean for white. Let's say maybe somewhere rook somewhere here happens. Then we have this knight takes. This is what he's talking about, right?
Yes, of course.
And
Just have to.
if rook takes, then you have bishop takes immediately.
No, rook takes e3. I think
Rook
is
takes e3,
stronger. Yeah, I
stronger,
think.
and the queen goes where? Maybe here.
No, that will drop the knights on
Yeah, bishop
f3.
that takes knight and bishop takes rook
We
takes.
have to go to f5. I think the queen goes to f5. I think that might be a problem
So if the queen even goes to f5, hitting on the rook.
because the rook now,
Oh,
the
okay.
rook needs to go back to e6 or
No, this
e6.
rook
I
just
think.
comes to e8.
Well, the bishop on
Then we
drops off.
have this.
No, then the bishop d4. I think just looks fine. Bishop d4 should be able to hold fine here. So maybe now rook takes e3. Maybe now rook takes e3. Here you hold fine. Maybe just bishop takes. Or if rook takes e3 works, maybe the duration is going to be different. I don't think the rook would go back.
So it has to
I think
go.
the
It
rook
has to
must
go
be
somewhere here. I think. I guess. So after queen takes bishop, then bishop takes rook.
take back then f2. Yeah, so we still we have the position where we have to justify the the pawns for the minor piece. So maybe white did not want to get into this complication if it makes sense because here uh, it might be favorable for white also in this position because the bishops are already active. So being an exchange down
Down on it.
might
Yeah.
might create some level of compensation after knight g5 in this position. So and I feel if black still has to defend in this position then probably white is better.
So
So that's it.
okay.
So black was trying to she was trying to avoid to playing bishop d4 in the position.
Okay. So instead this queen there avoided that immediately. Rook out, bishop here. So bishop takes bishop. Knight takes immediately. Interesting. He went back, of course, naturally. Attacks the rook leaves. Oh wow, hold on a sec.
course, the tactics is simple.
That was a
Queen
very
takes
beautiful
d4,
tactic. Queen takes Queen takes D4.
bishop takes g6, rook takes d3.
It takes with his queen. It takes. Then bishop takes, and suddenly this pawn is angry temporarily. And the
So
rook is on the 7th rank,
rook,
2nd rank. Yeah. Takes. But white,
so
this pawn is a
white,
problem.
white can claim that is keeping this position is roughly equal. White can claim that it's keeping the pawn at bay. White has freedom here in this position. So good freedom. White has good freedom in this position.
So king out, king in. We want to go from the, but why now?
The rook then has to go put pressure on the a pawn. So from the rook a8 felt natural in this position. Rook a8 felt natural. So at least completely stopping the
from here, you want your rook a8?
Because that feels natural to play.
Yeah.
If I pawn to b4, also, rook a8 feels natural without having to create any more weakness in this position.
No, even I think even rook a8, yeah, so then you start looking at ways to play a4, a6, and bring the rook back here and bring the rook in.
Great weaknesses on the b file, but it makes a lot of sense.
But it went back.
That because maybe he's trying to find out black, what are you going to do?
Yeah, something like that. See?
Create a trend so that I can play and to defend. Okay, so now black locked in and could let white rooks play, which is quite interesting. Although it should still lead to a draw, but now white rooks seem more active and black rooks seem more passive.
Back to life, back to reality. What black is toying with danger right now, and fortunately for them, they've met the 40th move, and they are. I mean,
Not necessarily. Black is trying to be the better player here because the activity of the king can prove decisive. You cannot let the king cross to b4. Once the king crosses to b4, black only needs to sacrifice a few pawns to create a pass pawn, and that's it. So you cannot let the king cross to b4, and that is what uh, black is trying to sneakishly achieve. Okay, the king crossing to b4 will become a problem. So now what white now needs to do is to just constantly keep hitting on the pawn that the rook after a3 that the rook is protecting. Constantly keep hitting on the pawn after a3 that the rook is protecting. Or play rook b. But yeah. But I feel the rook should not be a defender in this battle. The rook is not meant to be a defender. So rook b7 maybe too maybe unnecessary. You can just play pawn to a3 and the king can do the defense. From there, the king can always do the defense so that the white rook can stay active, hitting on the pawns that the black rook is protecting. Something like rook g7 can remain on rook g7.
And just hanging there. So anytime the rook moves away, you just start snacking on the pawns.
Pick the first one, pick the second one, to pull your hand. But it must stop the king from coming in. Maybe it might still be equal, but I feel the king activity can tip the balance of the position in just one move. Just one move. I feel everything is no longer equal.
Special shout out to Ajibade Olayemi. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. And Sir Nathan Ekanem, thank you very much for joining. How you doing over there? And we have Ojibzi, thank you very much. And Clinton Salako, thank you very much for joining. Special shout out to you guys and happy Sunday and happy Father's Day. Or do I have my reservations to this Father's Day thing?
And go back to
Ortega just, what happened? Ortega lost? Ortega of Cape Verde, this is his second loss in this tournament.
maybe he's having so much fun in the tournament that he's not thinking of winning.
Come on, having so much fun. And of course we have this happening, different variation of the English. Bishop takes. I think I've seen Abibola Osofoyi play this at one point or the other. It's white. Okay. C5 immediately. Queen out with an idea of playing B4 next. After rook A6, of course, B4 is not possible anymore. So rook leaves. Now we want to take the pawn on D5. Of course. Queen went back. What? Okay, so 1 second. Okay, we have bishop out here, rook up in there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's International Master Balogun Afemi, and it's wonderful. The insights that is giving us towards this match is gold, please. Knight out, knight went back up. This man is just moving, he's dancing his knight practically almost everywhere, and if we don't know better, we'll be thinking that he's not trying to actually win this game. That's a free pawn. This is probably, we should name this the night dance. Okay, I think I know why I can see this very well. Okay, I'm supposed to be looking at it from here. This is a knight dance, because if you notice the way this man has moving the knight up and down, look at the way the knight have made. I'm gonna. I want to do something. Let me count it. Let me count the knight's movement. Let's see. We have 1, 2. Oh no, sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who would have believed that? Imagine, out of the 28 moves, in fact, no, we're not yet done. 10, 11. Oh, hold on a second. 11. Okay, that was 11. Out of 31 moves, the knights made 11 moves. 11 moves. They caused disaster in 11 moves. Oh, the game is over. And that was, yeah. They caused disaster in 11 moves. And that's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. That's very, very interesting. 11 moves disaster. And oh, the game is over. Sorry about that. I'm actually trying to see where I can get my charts. I want to be able to see the charts as it is going on live and direct, so I can yeah, I found it. Pascal said search for AAA. What do you mean? What's search for AAA, Pascal? I don't understand. What exactly is sad for AAA? Did he lose his game? Did AAA lose? Ouch, how I wish we can see all the boards as the hot.com. All the boards. I remember I have food. I've not finished my meal since morning, my breakfast. Mm, 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 mm. Oh wow. Something happened there. No, we remember this move. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's a flip pawn first. Then we can take the rook. Then we just move backwards. Can we exchange the queens? Oh no! Well, it's at the expense of this pawn. Is there another way to go about it? Well, I don't know. Rook here doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. The reason is because of bishop takes check, the king has to move in, and now there's a backup move. So this is why. But wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I think I will. Well, I think I was actually looking at coin check here. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was saying ghosts. This we don't want to lose this pawn, alright? So what do we do? How do we solve this problem? After queen here, after this check, goes back. Queen here, bishop check allowed. Rook here. Of course, we saw that coming. Bishop took his own pawn. Bishop takes this pawn. Bishop in there. Pawn push. Bishop back here. I think there might be something that Torishin missed somewhere here. Let me check. Here, here, here. The position became equal. She blundered actually. This is actually a blunder. Gosh. Oh gosh. Ouch. But blunder alert. Blunder alert. Now we have a rook g8 looming. Okay, that was a close shave there. That was close. Mr. Rook f4. That was close. Mm. Please, what happened to guys? What happened to AAA? And there is another result that is in, I believe, well, Joseph, of course, we've seen that game. There is a drawn game here between WCM, Hala, this is again, Haladema and Otumale, and this they agree to a draw. After hitting the, did they even get to the first 40 moves? Well, for one reason or the other, because right now they just this is not 40th move, and there is no repetition over here, and I'm saying a draw. So it's either the recording didn't complete, or there is a wrong there was a wrong claim somewhere there. I don't know, because this is not a draw. Or maybe the rule says you can accept a draw, offer a draw after the first 30 moves. Hmm. Okay, I think time to ask our question. Are you ready? Um, First correct. Yeah. And the question is very simple. Description is. Are you guys ready for the question? The trivia question. You get it correctly, you win 5,000 naira cash prize. Okay. Um. Okay. Sorry, I forgot this is showing. I need to ask. Okay. So very simple there. Trivia question. What year did International Master Balogun Oluwafemi play against Magnus Carlsen? Okay, guys, I need to change my power source. Give me a second, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back here, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back here. Sorry, let's quickly go back to. Okay, I need to switch on this. And more results are in. Um, the game between International Master Samir David ended in a draw. Wow, wow. GM Bellassine. Okay, hold on a second. Um, Mwali Chitumbo already defeated International Master Michael Simpson. Mwale, of course, we've seen that one. Wafanda has ended up defeating Esperanza. And this is our players game that we're keeping an eye on at the moment. So um, the question right now is, what is Black going to do to stop this checkmate from happening? That's a very, very good question, ladies and gentlemen. What is he going to do? Hmm. Hmm. Pascal said 2017. Gaming and Money is saying 2017. Pascal, when you said sat for AAA, what did you mean by that, please? I need an explanation. Yeah, this screen comes in next. Yeah, that was the only move. That was the only way to stop that mate from happening. Queen, Rook check. Oh,
What's going on?
welcome back. Is that what's going on?
Position check.
Yeah, actually, let me go back a little bit into
It's on block.
to somewhere here. We stopped at Rook H7, right? Rook A7, and now, oh, sorry, not here. Rook A7. Yeah, after Rook A7, now swing back to G5. G4. The bishop now came back outside.
There is no point for the bishop coming back. What is the bishop coming back to do? Pawn to e6 is just brushing or something.
So pawn to e6 was played immediately. Well, bishop went over to g5.
Okay.
So the moment the pawn takes pawn with the check, rook takes pawn, and rook takes rook. Of course, you have no choice. Now she made an intermezzo. Bishop takes pawn check.
The rook will go back to block now.
And interestingly, for one reason or the other, well, even if the rook goes back to block, you take the second rook over here anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I understand, Pascal. Anyways, king moved away. Then you have to pick the rook on f7. So rook came out to say check. King went back to g8. Because what else? The queen here threatening. Queen f
d5.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pawn on d5 is threatening.
And the pawn on d5 exactly is also threatened. So there is no time to play rook to f8 also. So she played queen to c8 immediately.
Completely unnecessary. I feel the bishop on e3 could have moved in this position. The bishop on e3 could have moved. Okay, that's one.
No, wait. Hold on a second. You after this queen came here, what do you want it to do?
It's possible the bishop just captures on d4. Possible the bishop just captures on d4 and just keep on grabbing. So the rook on e8 gets an easy access to e2 with the check.
The problem is this.
Or is there tactics?
The problem is this. If the bishop decides to take this, then there is bishop takes pawn check.
Yeah, of course, king h8 is fine.
King h8.
So now you just have rook e2 at some point. Rook e2 check, just h6. Your bishop already controls that diagonal. So it's fine.
So in the game she didn't do that. She just wanted to go for the queen exchange. Immediately bishop takes pawn, and the king had to move inside. Of course, queen got in there very fast. Bishop takes pawn now.
The move that you should have played earlier is what you're just playing now.
Yeah.
And that doesn't buy you any time at all.
Now I understand. So bishop takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn, and now she moved that bishop. Now she moves that bishop away from that same diagonal to c5.
Completely unnecessary. You don't move the bishop away from that diagonal. You just simply play bishop takes b2 or something.
Maybe just take a pawn and still hold on to that diagonal.
Yeah, it's still possible to play pawn to h6. If bishop takes b2 doesn't work, but this position is already too sharp to play.
So bishop in allowing pawn push.
Pawn push, and that's just terrible.
And in fact, as a matter of fact, she went back there, and I think there was white didn't play it as aggressively as he should, but anyways, allowing attack on the queen. Queen moves away one more diagonal. Bishop pawn takes, bishop takes, and now queen goes over here. Then h this, then here the queen check, and now from here I was expecting the easy save yourself from these problems. Queen g8.
Queen g8 doesn't work because bishop e6 is just crushing. Bishop e6.
No, queen g8.
Yeah, bishop e6.
Bishop e6. Yes, but you don't understand. There is no mate. It is this mate that we're running away from, right?
Rook f7 rook f7 cannot be stopped. Rook f7 cannot be stopped. The queen has to leave. The queen cannot leave to h7 because that's just a free queen with queen e8. So the queen has to completely leave the whole the entire space. Then the rook goes to f7.
No. I'm gonna play queen here first. Yes, it's our space. Queen is going there first. So you can't go to f7 immediately.
Of course, rook f7 immediately.
Okay, if you go to rook f7 immediately from here, don't I have queen check from the back?
Check, then king g4.
King g4. Rook check.
Okay.
Allah been beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. All right. Okay. Rook back.
So the point is we just try to avoid the mates as just queen g8. Unfortunately, it didn't do that. She didn't do that. And wait, after okay. Well, she did it. Sorry. Yeah, she did that. But now she went back with the rook. Yeah, of course, the threat is rook over here, which is understandable. And
Okay, so the bishop e6. The rook threatens okay to pin the queen to the king, which makes a lot of sense.
yeah, but this bishop back here maybe.
Now that there's no threat, the threat is just simple. Rook e7, rook e7, rook e7, basically, with the threat of bishop e6. The rook e7 with the threat of bishop e6 is just a Persian attack.
Yeah, Pascal, the update on Odirov's game was a function of Odirov being an exchange down, according to Banel. Banel said Odirov is an exchange down when we asked him recently, that's all. According to him, though, it's more like a bad news on Odirov's games at the moment. Odirov's position is not. You know, there is a he's exchange down, but the position is good or is favorable, whatever. But the way he mentioned it was like it's a bad position actually.
Yeah, so Tommy is a grandmaster who has suffered in the hands of Nigerians.
Oh, that's true.
Because he doesn't need any more blues. I think FM Callistos has dished him a really interesting loss. Then
You yourself?
yeah, I scored the first win against Solomon Kenny back in the UK, Gibraltar,
Oh, wow.
2015. So I feel when he plays Nigerians now, he's always extra careful.
Who wouldn't? Even Ortega right now has to be extra careful playing against Nigerians. Oh God. Funny enough, we were actually thinking of Ortega coming into Africa and playing for Cape Verde and stuff. That he's going to like, but
Well, the thing about chess is if you come in as a young person, if you come in as a young person, then yes, the dream of dominating is good, becomes a reality. But when you come in as an older person who seeks a good life outside just tournament play, then there's a tendency of the distractions of life getting to you, and I guess this is one of those things. So the opportunity that the AICC presents, ticket to the World Cup, the GM title, is probably still what keeps his dream alive. But I'm going to face African challenges. It's not so easy. It's not. Africa is showing so far that the players in Africa are no pushover. So you can't just come and decide to beat everybody, especially when you're not a grandmaster.
So we're looking forward to how Tourisha is going to like escape from this problem that is right in front of her. I think more or less. I think more or less all of that games have ended except Bellassine is still looking for ways to.
Dante has built a solid position from the beginning, so I do not think there's going to be any upset in this position.
There is an extra pawn though.
Or he's been able to win a pawn, but I still do not think there's going to be an upset in this position. I feel the position will play itself out unless the G6 pawn can fall. Once the G6 pawn can fall, then I guess there is going to be a possible win in this position. But so far, white preserves his advantage being a pawn up. And if he gets into a knight ending, so obviously white is going to win the knight ending. But with the rook ending, it's going to be possible. White has some chances to get something out of the position. I mean, black has some chance to get something out of the position.
Hmm.
1 second.
Okay, no problem. Hmm. In the meantime, let us quickly call on our supporter to, tell us one or two things. Let's go there.
So do you know anything about crypto? Crypto. Hello everyone, my name is Glory Detail and I'm your host for today's Trivia by Spender. It's our first ever episode and today we're going to the streets of Lagos to find out what people know about crypto and if they're conversant with crypto slangs. And also, we shall be rewarding participants with rewards such as crypto or Naira. Come with us. Do you know the current price of Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, 102.
Amazing. So between 10,000 Naira and 0.125 Sol, which one do you think is bigger?
I'll go
You think 0.125 Sol is bigger?
0.125.
10,000 naira.
10,000 Naira. You sure? Our Naira come for you.
Yeah.
Why?
That doesn't always see a good corner.
Warn yourself 10,000 Naira from Spender and we'll be sending it to your Spender wallet. Congratulations, you have just won yourself 0.125 Sol, which will be crediting into your Spender account. So we just need you to download the app and we'll send you your reward. Thank you, Spender.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, sir. Ilé-iṣẹ́ yóò ní jóná o. Yóò ní wáyé tí o. Ẹ tẹ fún wa lélẹ̀ ẹ tẹ fún wa ní 20 billion.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie, guys. Women, I don't know. Women and money. Oh gosh, women and money. Of course, the excitement, the happiness that money brings to you, cannot be quantified. If you're unhappy, make money. And let's see if your unhappiness still remains the same. Make money first. You can't be poor and be unhappy. That's two-way street punishment, guys. Two-way street punishment. Okay. Okay. Women and money, guys. Women and money. Women and money. They're like this. If you're unhappy, go and get money first. Because how can you be poor and be unhappy? Excuse me. You can't afford to be poor and still be unhappy. Come on. That's two sufferings, man. Two big problems. It's better, right? How do I say it now? Better to have money and be unhappy than you don't have money and be unhappy. Money can buy some happiness, guys. Some, not all. Some. My own take. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually looking at this game with so much intensity, trying to see. Wait, did Torishe survive? That is very important to us, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go to that board. Sorry about that. And let's see what happened in the game. Okay. This position is going to be problematic. Uh, this position is very, very, very problematic. I can't lie, guys. The problem is you can't even move this bishop away. You can't. So if I were to be black, white, black right now, maybe I should just be thinking of bringing my rook all the way down there. That's exactly what you said. So the truth of the matter is there is no exchange anywhere. And now the plan right now is to be thinking of queen c8 check. Um, yeah, that's a very good counter-attacking measure over there. I'll give it up. Queen c8 check. That's a very good one. I love it. Fortunately, they are in their second time control, so there is enough time to figure this out. Okay, let me check this. La da 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 da. Okay, let me quickly shoot over there and go watch. I'll go listen to um, see. Okay. Okay. Uh, so what's gonna happen? Did she just? Uh, Hold on a second. Does this work? Does this work, ladies and gentlemen? No, it doesn't work. She's still winning. She has to play queen here, maybe. There is fire on the mountain. Suddenly, black is winning. Suddenly, black is winning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a winning position right now. Torishe back on the driver's seat. Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys. This is yes. Back on the driver's seat, and now she must not in any way allow whites to get an advantage. She mustn't. No, she just hold tight, bites, pray, and just hold tight. She must not allow her opponent to survive this. Ah, IM is back, and there is a blunder on the board. You're muted, okay?
Black has overturned this position.
There was a blunder here, right? After, let's look at we stopped here, I believe. After rook here, rook attacks the queen moved out. I saw this beautiful move, and I was looking at queen c8 that is coming up next. Only we're now trying to see what can white do about it to not make it happen. And guess what? All of a sudden, free pawn is allowing the queen c8. Yes.
Now the bishop is busted.
Yes. Yes.
So this is what happens when you lose focus and decide to go pawn grabbing, thinking your opponent has no resource.
Yes. Rook c8. Oh my God. That queen a4 is going to give Dillet nightmares for the next maybe 10 or 20 days once he loses this game. In fact, for years to come, she'll just remember queen a4. In fact, probably this will teach her a lesson not to grab any free pawn anymore. So you see free pawns and start running. Like pawn, what do we call this kind of things anyways? I think that this English for when you have phobia, exactly, pornophobia. We'll have a pornophobia experience going forward. Come on. The question now is, can we mate?
Of course, mate is not really important because the queen captures on c2 covers the escape square for the king. So the black king is well protected after queen captures on c2.
Yes, I agree. And funniest thing is, if this king comes forward to this square, that's what I'm looking at. King going to e4.
Checkmate is checkmate. Plus rook to h2 is checkmate.
Yes, rook to h2 is checkmate. Exactly. That's what I was thinking, that we have a mate up in the board. So
we only have pawn to g4.
Pawn to g4.
And that falls to just queen takes c2.
Queen takes c2, forcing the exchange of the queen. But wait on a second. Yes, yeah, that's just it. Just take the bishop. Just take the bishop. Oops! Who let the dogs out? Woof! 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 Pascal says simple tactic here for black. Well, she played it to that level. Kudos to her. Fighting from the back there. She saw the opportunity, She saw the blood and whoops, went for it. Like I'm so excited. Yes, exactly, Pascal. C2 hangs and mate is also threatened. C2 hangs, mate is also threatened.
So, do we have updates on Tennyson and Triple A's board?
That's the problem. Let me ask my people over here again. Um, it's so painful. I think I need to look. I will have to probably look into the probably the next African event. And draw up a proposal because these are the things we will still be expecting, right? Draw up a proposal where we can go out there. All it will take is um, getting maybe depending on the number of players we have. If I have 4 players, if like okay, like I said now, okay, we have 7 players playing in this event, and we're taking the top 3 boards or top 4 boards. With four devices, we can stream the game live for everybody to watch. I don't know, maybe you understand. Imagine everybody will just be watching it live. So we don't have the digital board, but you will be able to be seeing the moves live and direct as they are playing it. Just put a camera stand in front of every one of them and be streaming the games live. And if I'm let's say buoyant enough in the streaming media, streaming platform, such that I can get this GoPro I can get GoPro like maybe 4 of them, but not this one. This one doesn't work because this one can only record conveniently. It can't go online. You can't use it as a webcam. If you can get the ones that has the Euro section and above, I mean the Euro category and above, that's the higher version of this. If I have just 4 of these, just imagine just 4 of these, and you will be able to record at a very beautiful 4K resolution, HD resolution, and push it out there for everybody to see. These are the investments that we need to look into for this kind of live streams. We'll have all the games live and direct, recorded or streamed, and everybody will be able to watch, follow. Because it's painful, we can't follow our own. Imagine Tennyson's playing, we can't follow him until they get to the top board there. It is what it is, anyways. But going forward, I think I have to work on the A game of going out there to the even the Olympiad. If it is possible, if we have sponsorships to take us there, get these gadgets, can record the games conveniently and stream to our people down and using our platform. The Apart from the fact that Olympiad is already having the digital boards, of course, but the emotions of the players as they are playing also actually contribute. It goes a long way. Some people want to see you live and direct as you are playing, and this is the best way of actually even advertising for our sponsors that are sponsoring the Nigerian chess team. At least they wear their shirts, branded shirts. Everybody is seeing it, and we push it, we push it, we push it. Even if it is to pay as much as maybe 500K for YouTube marketing, such that they put it into hundreds of thousands of people's faces to see exactly what is going on. We'll get there. It's a gradual process because this is what the Indians do majorly. The Indians, please, the Indians, they just follow their own, media, cover them back to back or what they do. Please, any updates on AAA and Tennyson? Now asking from the African chess group to know exactly what's going on now. It is what it is. It is what it is.
So, Fear won Fiverr.
Yeah, Fear won Fiverr. Of course, the position was fantastic enough. I believe we talked about it that um, it was completely winning. Yeah, they took Bishop's idea and you said he was going to start pushing these pawns, and And Fear already left the African chess group, so basically, um, before now, I'm sure maybe after the
But
event.
I still on the African chess group.
Yeah, I'm sure after the event he's going to bring himself in. Okay, there is somebody called Israel David who said he's a junior chess player. He's 16 years of age, based in Nasarawa State, and is working seriously on improving his chess and would like to compete at the state and national level eventually. So he wants to have he wants to have the name of any federated coach, either national master, FIDE master, or international master, who takes on junior players for coaching either in person or online. That's interesting. I'm committed to training daily and really appreciate any guidance on how to get properly started in the federation structure. Okay, so let me just recommend no other person but international master. Um, if your hands are not full, anyways. Did you see our trivia question? Our trivia question for today, whoever gets it correctly wins 5,000 naira, is what year did International Master Balogun Afemi play against Magnus Carlsen? And the very first correct answer is winning 5K. I think some people are already dropping. Some people are already dropping answers already. I can recommend. Yeah. So that goes there. Okay, so I'm still waiting for responses from the African Chess Group. Anybody that can tell us anything going on regarding let me quickly go back to Torishe here. Okay, we've taken the bishop. Thank you. We've captured the bishop. And now we are looking at rook check and queen checkmate. Next. Or rook check and queen checkmate. That's another beautiful way of checkmating. So we're looking at the mate in two moves. Completely winning. Yes. Yes. Okay. I think this one. Yeah. This is good. This is actually good. That was a really, really good fight back there. I can't wait to find the final result. Okay, and for those that answered our question, let me quickly check it out and see who got it correctly first. And okay, I believe Pascal got it correctly. Winner goes to Pascal. It was actually in 2017. Congratulations, Pascal, for um, getting that question correctly. Yes. Pascal wins. You're the very first person that actually made it over here. I mean, got the answer, the trivia question. So here we go. Um, winner goes to Pascal. So, Mr. Pascal, what you're going to do for us is you are actually going to send download. Just go to the description, please. Go to the description of this video, and you will see how to go about collecting your prize. You download Spender. You use the referral code there. It's very important. You use the referral code, and you send us your Spender ID, and we send you your cash. Okay. It's very important to send your cash thereafter. So, chop chop, let's go. We're waiting on you. Right now, guys, I think this is the only game we are waiting on to finish. Once we look at this game, of course, this is just simple. Rook takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. I don't think. Oh, bishop takes pawn, please. Bishop takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. Not rook. Bishop takes pawn, I believe. Bishop takes pawn makes a lot of sense. And the reason why I am advocating for bishop takes pawn is because after bishop takes pawn, now I have rook to I have rook to c2. Hold on a second, I have to pick this call, please. Hello, mommy. Happy Sunday, ma. Yes, ma. Is your àwa náà ni mommy. This should be on now. Good. I think it should work now.
This should be on now.
Good.
I
Yeah.
think it should work now.
Yeah. So apologies as regards I had to mute because a call came in, and we are trying to see how no, nice and steady, wonderful woman candidate master of four winning to Rishemua is going to actually win this game. That's what we are looking out
So
for.
apologies as regards
Sorry about that. I just had to check the playback to be sure the audio is perfect. Um, good. So, mhm. Rook check, please. Rook check, please. Mr. Pascal, please, have you downloaded Spender? Please go to the description, download Spender, use our referral code and send me your Spender ID. It's very important to do all these things. Download Spender, use the referral code, send me your Spender ID, then you get your prize. But I think I would have expected the rook here because it looks to me like what white is black is delaying the inevitable. Just bring the rook here with the plan of rook check and rook somewhere here. This makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. You see, imagine the rook was somewhere here now. This would have been just easy peasy lemon squeezing. So this rook wants to come here to say check. Kindly move this rook here. Uh, okay, now I understand what black wants to do. Black wants to move the king here, king here, king here, king in there, and go ahead and take this pawn again from the side. Interesting. Not bad. Let's keep going. Mm. And if I go back a little bit and see, um, this game is still going on. This game is still going on. Okay, like I am Balogofemi said, this game is going to end up in a draw. And if this is the second draw against Bilal, this looks like good news. But again, we're still waiting on what happened in very own international master Balogun Femi's. International master Odion Aikhoje's game and back to live move. Now King can easily come in there. King can easily come in there. Like I said, hmm. Okay, let me see if there's any message regarding that on the WhatsApp. Um, I guess nobody is able to tell us what happened. Finally, Torisha won. Our opponent has resigned. She was behind the ropes almost all through, suffering, and at the last minute, she was able to just lay that trap. Rook to F2. That was a trap. Rook to F2, and looking forward to a possible queen to C8, which our opponent delivered to her on the platter of gold, and she launched. And here we are. Congratulations to Torishe winning that game. And yes, that is 3.5/4. That was close. That was a close shave. So I think going forward, she has to be careful about this position that you found herself in, so I should move forward into this kind of situations anymore. Yeah, good games, good one. Unfortunately, we don't know what Nigerians play. We'll have to find that one out later. Other Nigerians, I mean. Let me see. Uh, Wait, what happened? Where did this come from? Okay, okay, okay. There is something about David Lada's pictures. Honestly, that's what I call camera in the making. And the editing. Think Okay, so I think I'm coming. I'm trying to. We're gonna end this. This train is gonna end now, ladies and gentlemen. We have been here today and we've achieved what we want to achieve. We're so happy that we're able to follow up with Torish's game and we're able to see the results. Yeah, what do you mean? She was lost. Okay, guys, that'll be all for the stream for today, and we'll have to go now. We see you guys in round 5. I have to go now. See ya. Bye.